It's a veggie-BLT-pta! I totally suck at video games, but love to play them anyway.
Aloha! I'm VeggiePeta, and this is a top 8 list. Valentine's Day is approaching, so of course my mind wanders to love and romance. And what's a better representation of love and romance than Otome Games? For those who don't know, Otome Games, according to Wikipedia, are a story-based video game that is targeted towards the female market. Generally, one of the goals, besides the main plot goal, is to develop a romantic relationship between the female player character and one of several male or occasionally female characters. Now, there are a lot of Otome games out there, but most are in Japanese. There are quite a few that have been translated for mobile phones and even some PC, but finding Otome games in English on console and handheld systems is a lot harder to do. I've managed to cobble together a list of 8, with 2 honorable mentions. These are games I own, and actually might be the only ones out by Valentine's Day 2015. Since the fun part about these games are hooking up, I'll show you the eligible bachelors while telling you just a bit about each game. The first honorable mention is Fire Emblem Awakening for the 3DS. This is a turn-based strategy game with much more focus on battles than romance, which is why it only rates as an honorable mention. During battles, if 2 characters fight near each other, they form a bond, and in the case of male and female characters, certain pairs can get married, which causes a child from the future to be able to join your party. If you choose to be a female character, you can hook up with almost any of the men in your party, which can be a little overwhelming since, as you can see, there are a lot. I actually made charts in order to pair up couples to my liking, and in the end I decided my character would get together with Yarn. The second honorable mention is Star Ocean 2 for the PlayStation 1, which also had a remake for the PSP. It's an action RPG with completely optional segments to build romance, which only culminate at the very end, so it's not really an Otome game. However, if you choose to play as Reina instead of Claude, you can have endings paired up with the men in the game. During the game, there are private actions you can take with your team that raise or lower affection levels. Whoever you have the highest affection level with at the end is who you're paired up with. I never actually played the game as Reina, but if I had to choose, I think I'd have her get together with Claude, though her childhood friend Dias is tempting, so maybe it's a tie. Number 8 is Avalon Code for the DS. This is an action RPG, I think? I'll be honest, I only played this game for maybe 30 minutes before putting it away to play something else. Not because it's bad, I just never got back to it. I know the story is interesting and involves having to record codes for all the things and people you want to save and carry over into the world's next reincarnation. The tipping point to me even buying this game in the first place was the option to get together with several heroes or spirits. I don't know how one romances them, but I know it was a touted feature and even says who the possible partners are in the instruction book. Maybe this game would rank higher, but since I haven't played more than the intro, this is where it goes. Looking at the choices now, I'm pretty sure I'd go for the Earth Spirit. Number 7 is Dragon Age Origins for the PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. This is an action RPG and one of the few recent Western-developed games I've really enjoyed, and the only one on this list. Some of you may be wondering why Mass Effect isn't on this list, but I did mention I'd only list games I own and have played, so Mass Effect is booted! Dragon Age Origins doesn't have all that many romance options actually, but let me tell you that the chance to romance Alistair alone brought flocks of ladies, and some men, to the Dragon Age fandom. The game is focused on a sprawling story involving Darkspawn invading and the player having to make choices that affect the world. Some of those choices affect and involve your romantic options, and while you don't exactly go out on dates, getting together with your teammates is a nice fun touch to the game. Plus, who can forget those underwear-clad sex scenes? Despite Alistair being the #1 eligible bachelor for Dragon Age fans, I went with Zevran due to his Casanova ways. Number 6 is a personal favorite, Persona 3 Portable for PSP and Vita. This is a turn-based RPG combined with a social simulator of sorts. You play as a high school student, boy or girl, though obviously for this list it's girl, making friends and building bonds by day, then battling shadows at night with a team of other students. As the girl, you can create social links with some of your male teammates, and then choose whether to go the lover route or just stay friends. The game is long, and some of the boys require a lot of effort to date, but it's worth it to spend a long time together in your room after successfully romancing your choice. I was a Mac daddy and went for all the romance options in this game, though my favorite is probably Akihiko. Number 5 on this list is Rune Factory 4 for 3DS. The Rune Factory series is a mix of action RPG and town simulator, where you go on quests and help your neighbors in order to expand the town and further the game. This is another one where you can be a boy or a girl, and each gets a set of possible romantic partners, some of whom are bosses you need to beat before they become an option. You can talk to and give gifts to your boy, or boys of choice, as well as go on dates until you've built up enough love points to pop the question. Though there is fighting in this game, much like the Harvest Moon series, a huge part of the game is getting to know your neighbors and helping them out. The romance isn't a necessary factor to the game, so it doesn't rank higher on the list, but it's still a fun option. I've always had a weakness for centaurs, so my pick is Dillis in this game, since he's part horse. Speaking of Harvest Moon, number 4 on the list is Harvest Moon Animal Parade for the Wii. There are actually a lot of Harvest Moons that let you play as a female, but Animal Parade has the bachelor selection I like best, so that's why I chose it. The Harvest Moon games are all about farming and community enrichment, which sounds super boring, but ends up sucking you in until you're telling yourself, just one more day. Okay, maybe one more. Talking to the bachelors and giving them gifts raises a love meter, and when it's high enough, and you build a bigger bed, you can then buy a blue feather and propose. Harvest Moon Animal Parade takes things a step farther, and after a few more upgrades, you can even have a kid or two. Animal Parade doesn't force you to get together, but there are a few Harvest Moons that do make you pair up eventually, so I count romance a key part of the series in general. I set my sights on Chase for Animal Parade, though Toby was a close second. Number 3 is Princess Debut, a DS game that no one else I know has ever heard of. It's half rhythm game and half dating simulator, and while it doesn't excel at either, it may be the first truly Otome game to be translated and brought to the US. You need to meet different princes and train your dance skills for the big competition, or ball, or whatever the end game is. I never got that far because the pacing is pretty slow, and I moved on to a different game. Your dancing skills help determine which prince you can end up with, so the practice was worth it. But if you don't enjoy rhythm games, then the dating part probably won't be enough to get you through the game. I'm not a huge fan of any of the princes really, but Klaus seems the best choice to me. Number 2 is Sweet Fuse at Your Side for the PSP and Vita. It's a visual novel game, which is the traditional Otome genre, letting you make choices as the story progresses. In Sweet Fuse, you and several attractive men are trapped in an amusement park. There's a terrorist threatening to kill hostages and blow up the park unless you can get through some death games and take the guy down. There's a little puzzle solving in Sweet Fuse, but it's mostly about the story and what you choose to do. The choices you make will send you down different story paths with the different men, and if you can survive, then you may find love as well. Replaying the game is worth it as you get more and more pieces of the whole story with different partners. I've gone through the game with all the choices, my favorite of the men being Mayoshi, but my first path was Shirabe. And the number 1 Otome game in English is Hakuwoki, Demon of the Fleeting Blossom for PSP and Vita, as well as Hakuwoki, Stories of the Shinsengumi for PS3, and Hakuwoki, Memories of the Shinsengumi for 3DS, because they're all the same game with just a few bonuses or extra bits on the different systems. These Hakuwoki games are straight visual novels with tons of reading and choices to make. Hakuwoki was really the first Otome game marketed as such when it was brought to the US, and while not much else has been done with the genre on consoles, I applaud Axis for taking the chance and giving us a samurai romance game. The game itself involves the last days of the Shinsengumi as well as a vampiric curse. Sadly, there aren't a lot of happy endings for the Hakuwoki man you choose to be with, but each one has a very distinct personality and storyline. My choice is Sanosuke, who thankfully has one of the happier endings if you play your cards right. There you have it! My top 8, with 2 honorable mentions, Otome Games in English. I'm hoping more companies bring some Japanese Otome games over, like the Uta no Prince Sama or Tokimeki Memorial Girl Side series, but for now I'll make do with this list. If I missed a console Otome game, please let me know, or if there's a really good one on mobile, maybe I'll check it out, though most of those seem to be the typical pay-to-win games. And if you're interested in me doing a video on dating sims for men in English, let me know in the comments on Twitter or Facebook. Thank you for watching my Valentine's Day special, and I hope you enjoyed!